As we all know, the infamous Nicktoon Ren and Stimpy is no stranger to controversy. Ever since it first premiered, creator John Kricfalusi and then later Games Animation, who took over when Kricfalusi was fired, more on that later, faced countless notes from the network. This is too violent, this is too disgusting, you can't use this word. Therefore, Ren and Stimpy was subject to a lot of censorship, or, in some extreme cases, outright banning of certain episodes. And those are the ones we're going to be talking about here. I'm not going to be discussing the ones that are censored. That might be for another day if we get to that. Here, I'm going to take a look at the many episodes of the Ren and Stimpy show that were banned, look at the reasons why, and then decide whether or not that was justified, because some are, and some really are not. Is it the network being oversensitive like always, or is there actually a justifiable reason? Also, I will not be talking about adult party cartoon. That's technically not banned, it's just that no network wants to air it. One more disclaimer. Just because I say an episode should or should not be banned does not mean that I like or dislike the episode. I might or might not state my opinion, but I'm going to go over and see if these reasons are justified, and on that criteria alone. My opinion on the episode will not factor into it. Now, in no particular order, let's look at the banned episodes of Nickelodeon's The Ren and Stimpy Show. Starting off with one of the more infamous banned episodes, The Last Temptation. This one and its sister episode were banned for interesting reasons. While not the most notorious banned episode of the show, I think we all know what that one is, this one was definitely talked about for being a bit controversial. This one, The Last Temptation, is about Ren having a near-death experience, going to heaven, and vowing to essentially become a Buddhist. Meanwhile, Stimpy indulges in his newfound wealth. This almost feels like an episode of Family Guy because of how it likes to poke at religion and society and worldviews and stuff like that. Honestly, it was interesting to see, but it doesn't really feel like it belongs on something like Nickelodeon. I could easily see this being an episode of Adult Party Cartoon. However, I don't think it really belongs on the Ren and Stimpy show, as enjoyable as it was. So I would say that The Last Temptation is justified. Now, Sammy and Me, its sister episode. This one was banned for its disturbing subject matter. And visuals. Oh boy, the visuals. So, there's a scene where Stimpy puts in a glass eye like you would a light bulb, and it's a little grotesque. I've heard that one caused a lot of concerns. But the whole plot is about Stimpy idolizing a singer who is definitely not a reference to anybody in particular, who is a mantis and bites down on people's heads and devours them in a very grotesque and disturbing way. I, again, like this episode, but I can see why it's banned. While I don't think it's as justifiable as The Last Temptation, this one is definitely on the iffier side. It was a close one for me to be sure, but I would say that this one is justified. Next one, let's go to Bellhops. This one's not justified. You know why? There's no reason that this one was banned. It disappeared and has never been seen again. No statement on Nickelodeon's part, and I watched the episode and I can't find anything really objectionable about it. Not justified at all. Doubleheader was one that I couldn't believe was banned at first, but then when watching it, I kinda understood why. It's a little strange, yeah, but it's nothing that Squid Bob Tentacle Pants didn't do. So, maybe? I'd say this one's kinda more case sensitive, so it's in between. Yes, no, depends on the person, I can't really tell. Because yes, this is a little bit further than Ren and Stimpy, but in the end, it's not that bad, I guess. I'll leave this one up to your interpretation. Same goes for the episode Circus Midgets, which was banned because of the excessive use of the word midget, which has become especially hated in these days. Again, the episode really doesn't have anything wrong with it aside from that one factor. But again, it's a lot of sensitivity stuff, and I'm not a really censorship kind of guy either, so I'm not really the right person to ask about this one. I'm also going to chalk this one up to case sensitive. Now, this is one of the most infamous cases of censorship. I know I said I wouldn't talk about censorship, but I have to do it when talking about Sven Hoek. In my opinion, one of the best episodes of the show. So the fact that this one's banned is already a little bit against it. I'm a little biased on this one, but I'm going to do my best to stay impartial. So, for those who don't know, this episode was heavily censored. There's a whole monologue where Ren goes on and on about how he wants to kill Stimpy and Sven in some really grotesque but oddly kinda humorous ways. That was cut in half upon all further re-airings. However, the episode was later banned again This time in its entirety. Not just that one little piece. Not just the fully restored version, but the entire thing was banned because of Ren's psychotic outburst. Maybe Don't Whiz on the Electric Fence had something to do with it, but still, the main finger gets pointed to Ren's monologue, and really, unjustified. When you cut it down like this, yeah, it's a little iffy, but it's only about 20 seconds. The rest of this entire episode is standard Ren and Stimpy fare. Nothing to really get upset over, nothing really bothersome. You already censored it. If you want to censor it more, it's not my personal suggestion, but I guess do it anyway. Censor it a little more. Don't cut the rest of the episode. This one is always going to be one that bothers me. One of the more interesting bans is A Visit to Anthony. And that's because no one really knows the reason why, but there are a lot of theories. And depending on the theory, it changes my grade. First of all, there are some royalty issues that may or may not be talked about because Anthony was a real kid. This was a real fan who really wrote into the show and he voiced himself. Maybe in later years he wanted this redacted or something, but the episode hasn't aired in 10 years and Anthony himself hasn't stated anything on it as far as I could see. So if he wanted himself removed, then yeah, by all means. I would say that that's perfectly justified if he himself wanted out of it. Although, side note, I find it funny that if this is the case, he wanted himself out, he said this and they managed to remove this, but Cartoon Network didn't do the same with Tyler Samuel Lee, who was basically mocked in Dexter and Computers Get Mandark. I know that's an entirely different network, but still, it's a very similar situation. I can't be the only one who sees that. However, if it's due to themes of bullying, that's really lame. Have you seen what Ren does to Stimpy all the time? It's not like Ren's nicey nice with Stimpy. He picks on him all the time. He slaps him silly. Sure, bullying is a tough subject, but kids are stronger than that. Give him some credit here. So, if it's because Anthony had some royalty issues or he wanted out of the show, yeah, I totally get that, but if it's about bullying, come on. Ren's retirement is one that I was actually saying was justified until I really started thinking about it. The whole episode deals with Ren thinking he's gonna die, which I think we all know is not a very kid-friendly message. In fact, it's basically an unspoken Nickelodeon rule that you can't say the word dead or dies or anything like that. That's why Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost is so weird, because Nicktoons barely get to talk about death. But Ren and Stimpy did this in this episode, and I like it. And I do see how it could be bothersome, but I also chalk this up to the bullying thing from A Visit to Anthony. Kids are more durable than we give them credit for. It may be disturbing, but Ren and Stimpy is disturbing. They never go too far with it either. So, I'd say that this one's actually unjustified. I've heard some people say that this one actually was justified, but personally, I'm gonna stand by this one. This one has no reason to be removed. I'm combining Ren's bitter half and Eat My Cookies for one reason. They were banned for having the exact same problem. References to Nazism and communism. Okay, I'm gonna chalk this up to another Ren's retirement thing. Not only are kids not gonna understand Nazism and communism, but look at Star Wars. The Stormtroopers were based off of the Nazis. By that logic, kids shouldn't watch Star Wars. So, stop doing what you're doing now, Disney. I, by all means, am not condoning Nazism or communism. I think they should be very, very discouraged. However, just because it has some references to it doesn't make it inherently bad. I would have put this in case sensitive, but, you know, no. I think everyone needs to man up or woman up or whatever you want to do. Now we go to the infamous Ren Needs Help. Not to be confused with Ren Seeks Help, which was supposed to be a prequel, sequel, something. This one is genuinely disturbing. Like, really disturbing. I liked it, but it was disturbing. I can honestly say, yeah, I get why this one was cut. Ren tries to kill himself by going down the garbage compactor. There's a whole bunch of screaming and, yeah. I like it, but yeah, I can definitely see why this one was cut. I'm sandwiching these two together because they were banned for the same reason. And I think it's not only a bad reason, but a hypocritical reason. There have been some Ren and Stimpy scenes that have caused problems before, right? We mentioned the one from Sven Hoek already, and hey, even the original Powder Toast Man had one of these with the Bill of Rights scene. Remember that one? Well, these ones were banned because of a single scene as well, but rather than censor them, they were removed in their entirety. To be fair, they do hinge more on the plot, but still, I think you can cut them if you manage to cut the Bill of Rights scene. For those who don't know, Powder Toast Man vs. Waffle Woman has the scene of the Twin Towers being destroyed, oh boy, and Dog Tags has a scene of Ren trying to kill himself. Again, I can understand why these scenes were cut, but why take the whole episode with it? That doesn't make any sense. Sure, they hinge more on the plot, but edit them, cut them, do something. Don't take out the rest of the episode, which is otherwise fine. Unjustified. Unjustified. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. We've saved the biggest and worst for last. Man's best friend. Oh yeah, this one's justified. For the record, I liked this episode. I enjoyed it quite a bit. However, this should not have been on the original Ren and Stimpy show. I think it belonged on Adult Party Cartoon. Actually, I think if Adult Party Cartoon was more like this, it actually would have been funny. It goes far enough to be an adult show, but not too far where it's too disgusting, or in my case, too boring. But that's getting off topic here. Man's Best Friend has a lot going against it. There's heavy crap references. There's a lot of tobacco references. There's that infamous scene where Ren beats George Liquor nearly to death with an oar. Apparently even the name George Liquor was a big controversy, not because he has the last name Liquor, as in the alcoholic beverage, but because some idiot at Nickelodeon thought that his last name was Lick Her, as in putting a tongue on a woman. Are you serious? Are they trying that hard to get offended by something? That's like the one thing in Man's Best Friend that isn't offensive. The rest of this, ooh boy, it's a lot more intense than a regular Ren and Stimpy episode. It's enjoyable, but definitely not suitable for kids. Even if they lopped out a lot of the tobacco scenes or the scatological references or that ore scene, there wouldn't be much left of the episode. The whole climax would be missing. A lot of the jokes and even the ending would be missing. So you can't really do anything with that. You had to outright cut it. And yes, this is the episode that cost John Cristoforetti his job. Which now, because we know of the things he's been getting up to, maybe that was a blessing in disguise now that we think of it. Besides, a lot of people do like the game's animation era, some people do not. I personally think it's hit or miss like the original. But still, the point stands. This is what happened. We can't go back and change that. This is the episode that primarily got John K. fired. And yeah, no wonder this thing didn't air until 2003, huh? And those are the banned episodes of Ren and Stimpy. With the exception of a couple, these have all been the cases of the network going way too far with trying to get offended about something. It's weird that the network has been so progressive lately has now gone back and done stuff like this. Maybe someday these episodes will resurface, or maybe they'll come back in an edited form. Either way, Ren and Stimpy has been a major target for Nickelodeon, and unfortunately, especially with the recent outings of what John K's been up to, don't expect that to change anytime soon. Well folks, thank you very much for watching the video. What do you guys think of it? What do you think of Ren and Stimpy? What do you think of the reasons that these episodes were banned? Comment below and let me know, because as always, I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say. This was not the Patreon raffle review. That one's actually going to take a little bit longer, but that will come out next week, followed by Weird British Advertisements too. I've been working a long time on that one. Thank you very much for watching, folks, and I'll see you guys next time.